Why, there's a popular theorist with over 100 videos trying to figure out my backstory and is stalking me to figure out my secrets.
I wonder who that's about. Oh well, Riggy uploaded his first full-length video that wasn't connected to an ARG of some kind. The video was titled Who is Riggy? A clear and concise catch-up in case people wanted to know who Riggy was before Toon is released. There are a few notes about the timeline, Riggy's history, the merch, and even the different languages that Toon is going to be in. But by the end of the video, there is something we didn't expect. Something no one would have guessed there was. There is lore! Okay, yep, surprising literally no one. You know how much lore Dano likes to put in these things, and likewise, you know how much I like to look for it. So join me as we break this down piece by piece and frame by frame. But before we do that, please do subscribe. It's free and you can always unsubscribe later. Subscribing is the best way to support my channel as it allows me to make more videos and lets me reach more milestones. I really want to hit 400k before VidCon in June, so if you could just check to see that you are subscribed, that would be great. Thank you, and back to the video. The first thing I want to talk about is the timeline, specifically during the points in which Toon is set, right as Riggy turns 18 and moves to Toonville to the current day and beyond that by the time the show comes out. But what if I told you that's not entirely the truth? We know that there were some events that occur when Riggy was just a child, like the Red Rabbit incident where Candy and Ruby's father got arrested when they were just toddlers. It's also worth noting the peak of Lucky's career, as that's when his growth started in both fame and likely his expanding businesses, including some illegal ones at that. There's also a question of whether Riggy lived in Toonville beforehand as a young child, also before moving to Blueberg. This is because we've seen clips where Riggy interacts with younger versions of the other characters, however that couldn't be the case if they don't live in the same town yet. Although, there is the question of whether or not these clips are canon to the series, or whether it was just something being used for that particular video and doesn't work with the lore of the show. So, already we've noticed that the timeline in the series doesn't take into account the history of Toonville that would have led up to this point. If that makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't. By the end of the video, we're greeted by a few different scenes, one of them being shots taken within Toonville, depicting many of Riggy's misadventures, another being a scene where we see the purple fire surrounding Billy, and a scene where we see someone putting sets together. This isn't Dano, and that became apparent after slowing it down. But then, who is it? And why is he cutting out different characters? And what about some of the other pictures? What did they mean? Well, I'm planning to go through each one of them and breaking them down bit by bit. So here we go. The first pictures that I want to be looking at are going to be both Rosie in armor and Rosie holding hands with this character. The reason I want to point this video out first is because I've already pointed them out in a short where I believe this means Rosie is going to hell. You see, this character has very strange pill-shaped hands here, and we see the same hand holding out to the penguins as they're crossing over into hell. It also matches with the shape of the character we can make out, and the details in the background and the red paper that it's placed on. In the short, I explain that I think that this is Charon, or at least the equivalent to the ferryman in Greek mythology that helps people make their way into the afterlife. I believe that Rosie is doing this to save Riggy, whether this is current or a reoccurring event suggesting Riggy's been to hell before, which makes sense because he's stated that he's friends with death. And to be friends with death, you're either experiencing a lot of death or causing a lot of death to even get on that personal level with them. Now, we already know Riggy's caused a lot of death if his kill count is anything to go by, but we don't know yet if he's actually died, although he is currently in hell, and with some of these images we do get an image of Lucky stabbing Riggy, so I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't look good for him. The next picture I want to talk about is Riggy dressed up as a cowboy facing a carrot man. I originally assumed that this character was brought via hallucination, because I get the whole animals being sentient thing, but a carrot might be taking it a bit too far. However, when we see the lineup for Riggy's friends, the carrot one once again makes an appearance. If the carrot man does exist, he's likely the result of an experiment, which would make more sense coming from Riggy's scientist friend, Dr. T. Or it's a possibility that he's an actor, and what we're seeing here is a set, but it's not quite clear. Now in the next image, there's a scene that we actually have seen before. It's Riggy holding a bloody knife in front of a bunch of purple fire. The positioning here, where it directly zooms in on Riggy and how there's no one else in the scene, makes me believe that this is a dream. Not only that, but it's a dream about the prophecy. It's Riggy's dream about the prophecy. He's seeing himself as this cold-hearted killer in the future and waking up without a good explanation why. But there's a few details in here that I want to bring attention to. Look at these trees. They're not the ones we see in Toonville, because those look more like spruce trees, while these are heavy on birch. Now, keep in mind that this is based on what we've seen so far for Toon Turf, but considering the unknown location of these trees, I would say that this is intentional. I think that this location is meant to be Blueberg. I think Riggy is having these dreams back in Blueberg, and that's why he left his home to avoid it, not knowing that it's going to follow him along the way. Now, these next images are pretty difficult to see, but when you brighten it, it's quite clearly Lucky stabbing Riggy. It's interesting to note that he's stabbing him from the back rather than the front, meaning this was less of a fight and more of a way to get rid of a problem. Lucky sees him as a threat and is finding a way to get rid of him, which could explain Riggy's connection to death because he has actually died before. Also, stabbing from behind says more about Lucky's character. He chose the safest route possible to get rid of someone without giving them a chance to fight back, proving that he is indeed a coward. But it's also good because Riggy isn't wearing his hoodie here, which means that it doesn't take place after this other image that we see their interaction in, meaning that this likely takes place further down the timeline. But this image does suggest that their rivalry does get pretty intense and may even result in Riggy's own death, permanent or not. Okay, so what's the next image after that? Oh yeah, okay, so the mushroom riding a pig. I'm gonna be honest, I think this one's just a mushroom riding a pig. Anyway, so the next image I found quite odd because it's a person building the Toon Turf set and the characters, but we don't see him cutting out Riggy, we see him cutting out Lucky. And it's the first hint we get that Toon Turf is any different from its two-dimensional world, that somehow there is this character that can go beyond what we've seen. We already know that Lucky knows there's something wrong with their world. Could this possibly be Lucky's connection to the outside world? Well, it remains to be seen. But then we get this next image, looking oddly suspiciously like a scene from a very specific video game. But take a look at Riggy's outfit. He's still in his hoodie from the beginning, and it's all torn up, putting this in the timeline after the factory incident. Since it's a confrontational scene with Lucky, it suggests that Lucky is connected to it more than just being the face of the factory, which we have suspected before, but it's hard to pin down other than Lucky not wanting to show the police security cameras right after the explosion. And then there's the final thing I want to talk about. Billy. Throughout this entire extract for the show, we've seen the burning purple fire, but by the end we see Billy staring off, not knowing what's happening and encased within this bubble of calm that isn't affected by the raging fire. There's a sense of meta commentary happening here. Billy is staring at us in a fourth wall breaking kind of way. However, the only reason he's looking over here is because a little birdie told him. I'm not even joking about that. A bird flew over and started tweeting and they both looked at us. But what's interesting is that this bird is sporting red and blues, the same red and blues as Riggy. This feels less like a scene from Toon Turf and more metaphorical. Billy's death was pretty much a turning point in Riggy's life and is going to be a turning point for the whole show. It's the calm before the storm, and maybe that's what the bird is saying, because whatever it is has allowed Billy to look beyond the fourth wall, something he shouldn't be able to do. Now, I want to come back to this phrase, it's all connected. Why am I bringing this up? Why was it in the thumbnail of the video? Well, there's a very sound reason as to why. In the back of the Who is Riggy video, we saw some faded text that said it's all connected, and I think that this could refer to the scenes we were given. and that all of them are connected in some way. What are they connected by though? Well, let me run you through some again. Rosie possibly travelling through hell, Riggy in a shootout, Riggy then getting stabbed by Lucky, or holding the knife between the purple flames, and Billy looking at us. What are they connected by? Death? Violence possibly? Injury? Well, I think it's more than that. I think that the connection is something that lets them move beyond their world. Rosie is travelling through hell, Riggy is utilising dreams to learn about the prophecy, and then we have this mysterious character that's creating a Toon Turf set. We already know hell exists as a concept to them, so to think about other realities beyond their borders such as our world is to accept the fact that there can be others like it. Change could be what is connecting these images, such as changing states, or changing good to bad, one reality to the next, alive to dead. But what do you guys think? Are we on something here? Thank you guys so much for watching. These videos are always fun for me to make, so it's great to know that you guys enjoy them as well. Thank you to my members. Once again, your support for this channel is why I can continue making these videos, and I appreciate it so much. But if you can't be a member, that's okay. I'm thankful to everyone who's subscribed. Thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!